Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. It's been a while since we've done this. Kind of just a random video I wanted to throw out there. I haven't seen anybody really talk about this for the Digimon TCG. If you've been in here before, I used to stream a lot. Now I'll just probably doing random uploads here and there on the YouTubes. I no longer stream, but I kind of still wanted to try my, I guess, game, so to speak, at, you know, maybe doing the YouTube thing every so often. Anyway, with that being said, uh, expect more videos than ever. I apologize for not uploading as of a lot lately. Life's been busy and all that good stuff. So, yeah, enjoy these videos. If you're here for like video game stuff, we might cover that a little bit, but I just wanted to go ahead and throw out some more Digimon card game news for those that do play. So, as you can see probably by the title, there is a problem with the Digimon card game. And it kind of just dawned on me while I was putting away some cards in my binder, in my mini binders that I have for each set and whatnot. Every single time I go back to the very back of the page, because that's where all the secret rares are. As you can see, we have nothing but the secret rares on the screen right now. The secret rares in the Digimon TCG are not that used or prominent. Well, what do I mean by that? So this video might be a little bit longer. We'll see what happens. We'll kind of go through each secret rare a little bit, talk about them, maybe see why they were used back then, why they're probably not used now, or if they have any some sort of potential now. With BT10 released and EX3 on the horizon, we'll go ahead and Dragonic War, we'll go ahead and take that into consideration. Okay, so let's start with the BT1 or 1.5 here in America, or BT1 through BT3 secret rares, BT 1.0 and 1.5 here in America. So we'll start off with Metal Greymon and Vidramon from BT1. So this Metal Greymon, security attack +2, so it has 3 checks, and lose 5 memory when attacking. Doesn't seem very good, right? Doesn't seem very good when you think about it, because you lose 5 memory on the initial attack. So that doesn't seem great. However, I've seen this card win games just randomly in my locals, obviously not like in big tournaments, but in locals, this card was used for a lot of fun games. But I did see, again, it being utilized to a different extent. So with that in mind, or just keep that in mind, it's more of a fun card. Anyway, future uses, current uses. So this card I can only see being a 1-of in the blue flare deck as of right now. It kind of gives your Decker Greymon, kind of a bit of a pump, so to speak. So you use this card in Decker Dramon. If they have 2 or more on board, your Decker Greymon goes from being a 13 or 10k or potentially 11k to a 14k. Attack in 1, your opponent de-digivolves this thing into this thing, and at that point, your opponent potentially just gave them a bigger threat. Especially within this format, there's not a lot of big butts in security. And what I mean by big butts is, like, I would say 7k and higher, maybe 7k, maybe 10k. Let's say 10k and higher for big butts, because you have decks like Crossheart, the boogeyman of the format, I guess you could say, kind of running the format. But yeah, so Metal Greymon, I think he will not see any use past set 10 for the foreseeable future. I've been looking at set 12, spoilers. Set 11, he wouldn't be seen at all. Set EX3, nothing there as well. I think this Metal Greymon, could potentially have his use one day, and may, if they decide to do what they do in Dragon Ball Super and reboot some cards, this card would need to reboot, 100%. So, yeah, Metal Greymon. And while we're transitioning here to Vidramon, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I see a lot of different games utilize their Seekers to the fullest extent. Like when the One Piece game comes out, I've seen the BT1 the booster set 1 format for One Piece, but I think both Secret Rares will be utilized in that game. Dragon Ball, when there's quite a few Secret Rares being utilized in that game, in like high competitive events, I just don't see enough Secret Rares in Digimon being used. And again, back then with Metal Greymon, again, he was just kind of used as kind of a fun card, a silly card. Yeah, lose 5 memory attack, whatever. I just don't see. And he was barely used at all. If he was used in like the War Greymon deck to do damage, and that was in Japan. Again, this is specifically for America. I will try and use Japan as an example for a lot of these. But anyway, Vidramon, this card, barely used at all. I haven't seen anybody run this card. When attacking, if you have a tamer in play, unsuspend this Digimon. Not bad. And back then, a 3 to go into a level 4 wasn't that great. You were trying to go turbo, 1 to 2, and whatnot. Now, with EX11 on the horizon in a few months, could potentially see, maybe, I'm not saying that it's going to, a single copy of this card, maybe or two, ran in the new Old Force Vidramon deck. This card does work really well in that deck. But back then, again, like I said, it was a 3 cost. Nobody really played it. I don't have a lot to say about this card because, again, I haven't seen a lot. If you guys have seen these cards, that's another thing. If you guys have seen these cards being used in some sort of capacity, please leave a comment saying like, "Oh no, Buck, I've seen Vidramon be used in whatever, blah 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 blah." May have been used in Japan. I didn't follow Japan. I don't follow Japan a whole lot. I do follow Japan enough, but I think this card could actually see some legit play in BT11. But I digress. So I don't have much to say much more about Digimon. I think it's a cool card, but I think it missed its. I mean, maybe it might have been ahead of its time, I could say. Because like I said, maybe we'll see what happens in BT11. This card. Okay, we can actually talk about a card that saw. Sorry about punching the microphone. That saw a lot of use at a certain point. We had decks that just ran Itmon. Beelstarmon decks, potentially. I saw a couple in my locals. Not a lot, but this card did see use. It's seeing more use now because of a lot of the Beelsmon decks and whatnot. I think it might still see use when that new structure deck comes out because it's a Warp Digivolve, and there's also an Itmon in that structure deck that allows you to Warp Digivolve. But I could also see this card not being used because of that Itmon. So, vice versa, we'll see what happens. This was our first big Warp Digivolve card, I guess you could say as well. It's alright now. You don't really see a whole lot of level 4s sitting on board for very long. In this meta you do, but they just get tucked underneath the tamer and it doesn't even matter. Yeah, I don't really see this card being used past the structure deck. If you do use it in the structure deck, you might run it as 1 of. Right now, I highly suggest you run this as a 2 of in the current Beelsmon deck format. Oh, this card. I love this card the way it looks. The alt art, anyway. This card seemed... it kind of had the same issue with Vidramon, I feel like. Kind of a little bit ahead of its time. Your opponent has a Digimon with 10,000 DP or more in play. Reduce the memory cost to play this card from your hand by 6. We have a lot more options now where we can, give ourselves more memory. And potentially reduce cost of playing something like this for a cheaper price. The issue with this card is when attacking, if you attack your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP, unsuspend this Digimon. Great. Okay, now how am I going to suspend it so this thing can swing into it? In black. There's a problem. I mean, sort of. We do have cards like that Metal Greymon from BT8 that allow us to attack Digimon that are unsuspended as long as it has Dragonkin. But again, the idea behind this card was to play it for super cheap and get a level 6 out on board, hit the solo Black War Greymon, swing, and do some damage. I think the Black War Greymon from set 8 could make this card relevant. But again, I just don't see the point in even running this card anymore when there are better options. Like the Black War Greymon from BT8. It deletes a Digimon and unsuspends. It can just delete any Digimon that from, the total play cost is 6 or less as long as you have a red source underneath. But if you're running in that deck, especially in this format, you're most likely going to hit that. And he's going to be able to unsuspend. And have blocker and all this other crap underneath it. So, again, unfortunately, as much as I love the look of this card, I just don't see this card being utilized anymore, and I see a big reboot coming for at least this card. If they do it like they do with Dragon Ball. Please God. One of my favorite Secret Rares, to be honest, Imperial Digimon Dragon Mode. Came out with set 3, along with the other Imperial Digimon Super Rare. Okay. I think this card would get it needs the reboot. Because it never really saw the light of day, unfortunately. Not a lot of people used it. I tried implementing this card so many different times. When BT8 came out, when BT3 came out. And I don't see it being utilized in EX3 because, again, purple and red, but Imperial Digimon deck, it could be seeing play in BT12, potentially, because we're getting all that new Imperial Digimon support. I don't think it's going to. It is going to be blue-green Imperial Digimon support, most likely, I think. I would think. Davis has already been revealed to be blue, so I would think. I really like this card still to this day because you swing, check, you gain... when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives and unsuspend this Digimon, you deal damage, you can pierce something, deal damage, unsuspend, do it again, and the XVmon from EX1 make this card more relevant, but still nobody ran it. Which was unfortunate. I didn't even run this thing because there was no room. And your deck did other things than... Your main attacker was Pyildramon in that deck. Let's be fair. That deck's main attacker was Pyildramon. I want to see this card ran at some capacity at some given point. I hope it gets ran more often. Probably not. Probably another card that might end up getting a reboot. So far, let's recap a little bit. Barely used enough. Barely, almost never used. This card. It gets outshined by other things now. Alter S. We all love Alter S. Alter S was the boogeyman of the format at one point. You sit there and you wipe your opponent's entire board, and then you Yeah, that's all you did. You literally wiped your opponent's entire board. You de-digivolved and you killed everything. For the most part, this card is great. I think it was used a lot during its format during 1.5, and I do believe that this card would potentially see a reboot as well. Again, if Bandai is following procedure like they do with Dragon Ball, nothing else to say much about this card. This card will not be used unless it gets rebooted again. That's just my wholehearted opinion. Take that as you will. I just don't think this card will be used at any point given forward, unless they do like if you have an Alter S or an Alter B, blah blah blah, some sort of weird effect that makes this card relevant again, and it requires an Alter S. But anyway, yeah, not much, nothing else to say about Omnimon Alter S. Moving on to set 4 secret rares, the first set where we got 3 secret rares in the same set. All of these secret rares have been used at some point or another. And they were all very good in their own respective decks. Ancient Garurumon, really good card. Statically. And again, let's go back for a second to the cards being good or bad. Statistically, this card could be really good. Okay, Vidramon. Statistically, this card could be really good as well. Could sneak away a game or two. Good for the Warp Digivolve. I don't really like the effect. Delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower. Retrospectively, this card can be really good if you can get it to go off. Again, Imperial Digimon Dragomon can be really good if you could get it to go off. Alter S was good. It went off consistently. So a lot of these secret rares effects for their time compared to now were retrospectively pretty not terrible. When they were printed, and that was like 2 years ago. Now let's go to what I would say had the most expensive secret rare lineup. At a given point, like if you bought one copy of each secret rare, alt art or regular art, you were at least spending one Benji, on all of these together. So Ancient Greymon didn't really see a whole lot of play initially. When it came to set 4 format, I saw more play once we got. Well, I believe America did get those promos immediately with the Gunimon, the Lobomon, and whatnot. So those 2 cards did see a little bit of play when those decks came out. Tried to run them. They were in hit and miss. Ancient Greymon at the time I felt like had a bit more of an edge because you run it with Delicate Plan. No security checks. You just wipe through your opponent's entire security. And that's the same thing with BT7 when Next Adventure came out. Future for this card, if there's some sort of weird Greymon tribal type thingy, or when we're getting the new hybrid stuff too in set 12, could see some play then. Who knows? I think all 3 of these are due for a potential reboot if we end up doing the whole reboot thing. I think this is, although I think set 4 was one of the worst sets we've ever had. Because we're set 4 and set 5. No. What did I say the other day to somebody? Set 4 was one of the worst sets I think we ever had. And set 7. Surprisingly, because of the set 5 for a competitive reason. I think that's why I said, but I just did not. Everything else in this set, by the way, except for like some of the alt arts, the value was so low. Not a lot of the cards did, and it wasn't just because of the value. There was only one card that had a significant impact on the meta, and that was Yellow War Greymon. That deck terrorized the format, and that's when the tyranny of yellow went off for like 2 sets. This is the start of it. Lucimon was a fantastic card. You just play it, heal damage. Not much more than that. Ancient Garurumon, again, I think this was the weakest one at its release because it was easily killable. Your opponent, it was scary if it went off, but it just, your opponent might just like look at it and just kind of giggle a little bit like, huh, that's cute. You actually got to do the thing. And then they came back and then just killed you. Uh, it became a little bit more scarier in set 5 because of Blitz Omni, but we'll get back to it. We'll get to that in a set. And then set 5 kind of, but yeah, we'll get into set 5 in a minute. But set 7, it saw like almost little to no play because we had blue hybrids that terrorized the format. Blue hybrid, specifically Korikakumon and Kumamon and Tommy Himi. The Magna Garurumon package was not played. So in result, this wasn't played either. A little unfortunate. Came with some cool cards though. But again, we're specifically talking about the secret rares. So I think this was the first set of secret rares, set 4, that we saw legit play from a lot of these, and these cards at a given point, if it was top 32, top 8, whatever, they all had a place in the competitive environment. Oh, this is where I get sad now a little bit because I really like this next card. So we go to set 5, okay? I really like this card. It's so pretty. And it actually wasn't that terrible, and it was like the first way we could legitimately like negate an attack. But it took so much to work up to. I saw a lot of people trying to use it during the set 9 format. It just still kind of flopped a little bit. Just because people... It still took a little bit too much to build up to. My dog's looking at herself. Evelyn, stop. Anyway. I think Omnimon X Antibody, this one just falls on its face. Like, nobody's gonna touch this card, especially with the newer one now. That's a lot better. Even though, yeah, you get to negate attacks. The new one that we got, the SR in this past set, literally lets you look at your opponent's security and goes, nope, I don't want that in there. Get that out of there. So, and it gives you complete knowledge. Where this, negate, and then they can just go, oh, you just want to negate all that stuff? I'm just going to go ahead and send it away. Unless you're playing like this in the Greymon deck, then you can protect it from going away. But that's like the only time they can really protect it. And then there's Chaos Degradation, which just tells you no. So, the most expensive secret rare, I think base, I think, it actually, these two had a tie between Lucimon. How much was Lucimon originally? Wasn't it like $70? The base one? It might have been. But one card that was like crazy and that came out of set 5. This card saw so much play. Again, Lucimon saw play. Ancient Garurumon saw a little bit of play. Ancient Greymon saw enough play that those 3 secret rares saw top finishes. Omnimon's or defeat. One of those cards that saw a lot of top finishes. The card was very powerful. It was a busted secret rare. Even though Lord Nightmon was the scariest thing of the format, this card still didn't take a whole lot of first places in the decks that it was in. Lord Nightmon was definitely the boogeyman of that format, and nobody got a lot of... Actually, I quit Digimon for a little bit during set 5 because of how stale it was getting. And we were sitting in it for so long. Cool card, love it. I don't think it'll ever get a reboot, to be honest. I think this card would. this card wouldn't. It's so strong, and I think it's still very good on how it is. Everything from set 6 up now at this point, I don't think we need a reboot. Because all of them have like some pretty decent, the good effects for the decks that they're supposed to be in. So with that being said, this guy, watched my friend pull the gold rare. I'm not mad about it. I'm just disappointed. One of my local guys. Saw very little play, actually, now I think about it. I mean, I saw lots of the new X Antibody decks in set 9 play this, or when all the X, it was all the rage. It was like maybe a copy or two. You didn't go past that. It was still, I think the card's really good. But I do believe the other Alphamon, the rare one, did put a lot more work than this one did. But the fact that this came out of security negated 12 Digimon couldn't attack. Such a weird number. 12, I get it though. 12. There's 12 Royal Knights. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe that's why they chose that number. Where is it? 13. 12 or 13. One of the two numbers. And I found this card, the security effect, to be really good. The end of attack effect was interesting. I think this was one of our first end of attack cards that we got. You may pay up to 5 memory if you do. This Digimon gets 1,000 for each memory paid. Basically just allowed you to go, I'm going to pay 2 memory. I'm going to get that back, and my turn will continue. So that way this card doesn't die, and I can continue to, utilize the rest of my turn. Interesting card. I think it's good. I don't think it'll need a reboot. I think it was used enough. Yeah, it was used enough, including like big competitive events. I don't have that information on me, especially in set 9. I did see it kind of floating around here and there, but yeah, I don't think this card will ever get a reboot, any way, shape, or form. The other set 6 secret rare, Beelstarmon. Interesting card, to say the least. Definitely used in a lot of decks. It was specifically with 3 Musketeers and security control. This card is a menace. I don't think it'll need to be reprinted. Beelzeboobs is a really good card. There's not much else to say about it. She won't be used in the new Beelzemon structure deck when that comes out, even though she's in it in a different form. That's mostly for a Beelzemon deck. She will still be considered as a security control type card. I think she'll still be good for formats to come. I just don't think she'll be good enough to the point where she threatens the format. I think she'll be just a fun deck at this point. Going forward, unless they give her like some crazy card or some crazy support and do more 3 Musketeer stuff. Lucemon Chaos Mode, great card. Nothing else to say about it. It's a good card. Was used enough, I would say. I'm pretty sure it had a few top 32 finishes. In bigger events. So I think it's a good card. Why is it always the fan favorite cards mostly that just kind of get doogied on? So we got Lucemon, great card, Tamer hate, Digimon hate, got rid of your good stuff. It was used in Mastemon in set 8 prominently. Probably will see more use once we get more Lucemon support. So I do see this card being used in the future. Man. All the cool cards and all the fan favorites just kind of get dookied on. I really like this card. It was the first one that didn't really have a bad caveat to it, except the fact that it was a 7 cost, and it was our first Rainbow Evolution. You may digivolve this card from your hand onto, but Susan was you, and this is I mentioned earlier in the video that there was, I might mention Japan here and there, and this is where I'm going to mention Japan. This card was the reason why Mega Digimon Fusion got banned. Because you were able to essentially use Takato or Koji? The Blue Tamer. I can't remember his name. Oh my god, that's going to bug me now. Anyway, the Blue Tamer, I think it's Koji, allowed you to use Mega Digimon Fusion, Digivolve into this thing on top of a Tamer for a cost of 1, deleting a Digimon, and then smacking your opponent for 3 security. That's not where it was going to be used mostly, because Lilith Loop was still going to be a thing. That's where this card was going to be used. Yes, Mega Digimon Fusion needed to be banned because Japan made that card dumb, and this card and Mega Digimon Fusion, yeah, this card was going to be way too good if that card was still going to be allowed at 4 copies of. With that being said, because that card was banned, this card saw no play. And I would like to see this card to get more play at some point down the line. Hopefully with the new hybrid support that we're getting in set 12, we could see that. Probably not, but we'll find out. We'll see soon. Altar looks dope too. Now we're getting into the later stuff. And this is where it kind of starts. So, again, we'll recap. Saw quite a bit of play. Saw enough play. Saw enough play. Saw quite a bit of play. Saw no play, almost. Saw a lot of play. Saw a little bit. Saw a lot. Saw quite a bit. Was going to see a lot of play, but Mega Digimon Fusion got banned, so this card didn't see play. So now we're getting kind of back into the swing of things with these newer sets, where cards are not being, these secret rares are not being played, and this is where this video, this title comes in, because right now we're seeing, let's see here, out of secret rares, I'm gonna try and not do the alt arts. I'm trying double count over the alt arts. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I won't count him. 6 secret rares so far out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's almost half. That's not good. And we're about to hit half on secret rares being played, because I'm about to tell you guys, Creepymon and Imperialmon Paladin mode were not played. They were not played. Hardly ever in their format. But so we're on 15 and 16. That's 9. We're over half at this point. Bandai, we need, I think, secret rares. Don't make them secret rares if they're barely. I mean, the effects of secret rares are powerful, right? We can all agree that most of these effects were pretty powerful. We looked at them like, man, this card's actually really good. It can be really good for its time frame. It could be really good for its, maybe potential future sets. It could be really good. So far, we don't have a single mill deck. Creepymon is waiting for his time. I ended up pulling for alt arts, but hey, I'm not mad about it. Creepymon It does not have his own deck yet. When Digivolving, and this is why I say trash 2 cards of your deck for each your opponent's Digimon in play. If you trash 4 more cards with this effect, you may play one level 5 or lower purple Digimon card from your trash without paying its memory cost. So it kind of you might run one copy of this in the Beelzemon deck if you're feeling a little cheeky for that one Digivolving effect, because a lot of Beelzemon's cards revolve around you trashing the top cards of your deck. So that's something, just a little, a little seed there. See if you guys can actually run this card. I would like to see it. When attacking, for every 10 cards in your trash the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and this Digimon gets plus 3k for the turn. Again, I feel like maybe it could be random Beelzemon. So you would be able to trash 9 cards off the top of their deck for each attack. But then you would basically be on a time clock against your opponent of is it gonna live, right? Is it gonna even live to see the end of the day? See the end of see the end of the game. And I just don't see, this card needs his own deck. He literally needs his own deck. We haven't had a whole lot of cards that say mill the top of your opponent's deck a whole lot, besides maybe like Megidramon. He was like the only other card that we saw that made you mill. Dan Devimon said discard cards. So Creepymon needs his own deck. That's just my opinion. I think he'll get support in the future. I'm surprised we haven't seen anything about him in set 11, especially when I believe, let me pull that up real quick. I believe this was like the one game that he came out in. Digimon World 3, Digimon World Redigitize. Yeah, this was the game that he supposedly played in. What came out because Rena's in it, and all Force Vidramon's in the picture. See? He's right there. He's fighting him. Anyway, needless to say, he needs his own deck. Period. They missed the mark with this one. I love this card, me personally. But if I look at it, this card just... The deck itself already had way too much... Like, it was way too tight on space. What deck am I talking about? Well, the card would probably go into, like, an Imperial Dramon deck. Or Pile Dramon deck, if you want to be technical. Where you're sitting there swinging constantly. This card essentially would allow you to potentially get back into the game. When Digivolving, when attacking, you may return 1/2 color card from the Digimon's Digivolution cards to the bottom of the owner's deck to trash all the Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon. Then return all your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards to the bottom of the owner's decks in any order. So I think this card may saw a little bit more. I saw nice secret little text. I did see that. To be fair, I did see this card get played just a tiny little bit when Armor Rush was kind of around at the beginning of set 9. And the end of set 8, because you could literally evolve. You can literally use like your level 4, send them to the bottom of the deck, and reuse your level 4s because they were dual colored. But his big thing is you may return 1 white level 7 card from your trash to the bottom of your deck to reduce the Digivolution cost by 4. Cool. One way that could actually happen more often than not is a level 7 being checked in security and then go into the trash. I made a mistake beforehand when I said both of these cards were barely played at all, which it's still true they weren't. But again, I did see like a couple Creepymon techs. I did see a couple of Paladin mode techs. But they were very specific to a deck they were in, each of them. This one was like mainly used in security control. From what I've seen, this one and Three Musketeers. This one was mainly used in, like I said, Armor Rush and Set 9 with Magnum on X, because you can literally return like every single one of its sources and keep using the effect over and over and over again. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Super unfortunate that these were barely used. Oh, these two were barely used. We're actually coming down to the wire here. I thought it was going to be a lot longer. Well, we're at 40 minutes, so we'll see what happens from this point going forward. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 secret rares to talk about left. And honestly, I think they are changing it, and we'll get into that too. We'll go take a look at set 11, and I believe no, they haven't revealed and EX3. So as for set 9, this was used in his deck, in his own deck. Finally, we got to use it. Oh, finally got to use a secret rare, but that's the problem that I have with some of these secret rares, is that you can only use them in so many decks. And this secret rare you can only use literally in one deck. It didn't matter. This one I saw being teched in a few other decks. Like I saw this deck card being teched in Lord Nightmon. When Lord Nightmon was being run in the format. And the reason why I saw this card being teched in is because I saw people play the set 3 Mastimon. And you could evolve on top of it and still do a bunch of shenanigans with this card and still delete one of their tamers. So it was pretty good. That's why this card was like, I think saw $60 price tag at one point, the base form. So this one, yeah, he's $16 now, according to this website. Probably close enough. He's his own deck. He saw a lot of play in Japan. He saw a lot of play in America. Didn't do a whole lot in America though. Garurumon did a lot more, to be honest. That deck was just it was my favorite deck of the format. A card that I think that needs to be banned, or at least put down to 1. This card can be thrown into every single deck. This is the one secret rare I will say on this list that could be used in almost any deck. Because you're right now, especially in this format where Crossheart's a terror, and you have like cards like, or you have decks like Blue Flare that uses, a lot of Christophers or Kirihas, if you want to get technical. You could literally just slow this card down and wipe a board for free, for no cost. This card's insane. Probably one of the best cards that they've ever printed in this game. I want to see not exact cards like this, but I would like to see more. But I think this card needs to be put down to 1 because it can be run in too many. It can be run in a lot of decks. It's a very strong card. I'm not saying I'm not saying like I don't use it at 2, because I do. I use it 2 in a lot of my decks. But I just don't think the card needs to be that powerful. The fact that it could just sit there and your opponent can't do nothing about it. I would say blue and green have the best options to answer this card, and they usually don't play them because they're a little bit too cost heavy. So I implore you, if you are a blue or green player, start using those options where you bottom deck cards, because people get upset when you bottom deck their Death Exmon. Yeah, there's nothing else to say about this card. This card is going to be a terror for a long time unless they put it down to 1 or ban it. Okay. People are going to feel indifferent about this, but I think you should be playing 2 copies of this card over your Death Exmon and Crossheart. And here's the reason why. So I think this card isn't that bad. It will get better in the next set. So let's read the effect. And again, if you guys, I bring up the card so you guys can read the effects yourselves. But if there's one that I want to, touch up upon like this one, I'll read the effect. You may return one card with a Digicross requirement, or Digi-X-Ross if you want to be, have fun with it. Requirement from your trash to your hand. When you would Digicross this turn, this Digimon may replace one of the Digicross requirements. So, that's the reason why I like this card, is literally that second line right there. Yes, I understand that I have to play it for 3, and it doesn't really bode well because, I have to use memory to use this card. Okay, I get it. I understand that. But when I'm not seeing a single Starmon that I play 4s of, Starmons, or Darulamon, or Ballistamon, or even the other Shoutmon, and this card is basically your kind of get out of jail free card. It's your wild card, like I have 2 copies of Darulamon in hand or Ballistamon. This card only needs 1 Digimon card with a crossheart and its traits to use. He has a 3 cost to play. He gives that any of your Shoutmon cross 4, cross 5 an extra 2k pump. This card isn't terrible, right? In my mind, it's not that bad. I think this card needs... I'm playing 2 copies. I want to see what this card can do. I haven't been able to test it out yet. I'm sure people are going to... They don't... it's not probably a fan favorite or popular in any way, shape, or form. But, yeah, I think... That's just my opinion. Again, I think this card could potentially use a reboot as well down the line. I think this one card will get the reboot treatment if they ever decide to reboot cards. Again, like I said, I think it's not a bad card. People think it's a bad card because, yes, essentially you're paying 3 memory for a wild card. But again, the deck barely uses enough any memory as it is. So, be as it may, I would rather use this card for... I will say this, though. Currently, right now, this is a good cross 5 card. If you're not... if you're missing some pieces, and you're like, oh man, I have this card, and he has like 3 security left, and this is going to be my 1 ticket out, and whatnot. So, I want to try it. I want to see what he can do. He's also not a bad little aggressor for the beginning of the game. So, we'll see what happens. And he could be like a good first turn play as well. Don't forget that. He's a good first turn play. He's his own deck. I like Jessamon GX. I think this card's good. He's his own deck. He goes in the Jessamon deck. He uses the Jessamons from the new Star deck, the X Antibody, and the Genkumon X Antibody from the set, to utilize his effects well and very good. To utilize his effects very, very well. The one other thing I was thinking that we could do with this card, I think this card is fine. I think this card is great. I think you'll see play this format because we just got into it. Same thing with this one. We just got into the format. I want to try it out. A lot of people are talking crap about that card. I would like to see this card do well. I think this card is very powerful. I think we can figure this out in the right circumstance. I want to be able... What I want to see with this card, I want somebody to... I'm challenging y'all out there. I want to see some sort of Royal Knight toolbox deck. And I was looking at it myself. Because it says you can use any Royal Knight. Right? Any Royal Knight in your hand with a play cost of 13 or less. There's only one other card that I think that can actually do well with this card. And it's Leopardmon. The most random one out of all. Actually, there's 2 of them. Kentorosmon and Leopardmon are the 2 that I think that you can kind of toolbox into this deck if you can find room for it. Because Levermon says on Digivolve, take a level 4 out of your sources and play it. Not bad. That's a free level 4 on the board that I can use to evolve into another Jesmon. And then Kentorosmon says on Digivolve, choose up to 5 of my opponent's Digimon, they get minus security attack of 2. Great. Like, that's kind of dope. You know? They don't get the other effects, like Leprechaun gives everything jamming, level 4s and lower jamming, and then the Kentorosmon says on deletion, give minus 11k. He only gives the one Digivolve effects. I still think those 2 effects are very powerful, especially in a Jesmon deck. Kentorosmon not so much because you do have blockers in the form of Sistermon. But it's just kind of a fun idea I had. So Jesmon GX I could see being used in the future for a very, very long time. The one thing I'm really disappointed about though is that you can't use you can also use Magnamon with this thing, by the way. Magnamon's fine too. Anyway, but you can't use the Omnimons because they're 15. That'd be busted on Digivolve Blitz. He already has Blitz, but still, if he didn't have Blitz, doesn't matter. Or like the original Omnimon, for example, on Digivolve, kill something. Pretty sick. If you could do that, but you can't do that because Omnimons are 15 or more. All right, that was, I think, all of them except for one set that we'll get into because I believe we're on a uptrend of secret rares being used with the start of set 11 because as you can kind of see, we were on a big downtrend. Like the secret rares were barely being used. They kind of being used to then not being used, then to being used, not being used, being used. So it seems like now they're kind of going like one's going to be used a lot, one's not going to be used. EX1 had one secret rare. Classic Collection 1. Machinedramon, he was his own deck. He's going to be used in the future in Dragonic Roar and potentially even in set 11 because they get Chaos Dramon X anybody. I think this card is actually really dumb. And I'm hoping to see it utilized. And I hope to see it top. I really do. I want to see this Machinedramon deck top. I think it'd be freaking awesome. This card's so much fun. Nothing else to say about it though. It's a fun card. EX2, we got 2 secret rares. One that barely saw any play, and another one that barely saw any play. And the issue is with they're in their own respective decks, the Beelzemon deck, and then obviously the Gallimon deck. This card, their effects are both really, really strong. This one gets milled. They basically were to fight each other. Like, honest to God. That's what these 2 decks were. These I feel like these 2 secret rares were just supposed to be put up against each other. And that's it. This one says delete the highest dude on board. And then for every trust top card of your opponent's security stack, add 1 number to the card's trash by this effect. For every 10 cards in your opponent's trash, this card literally poops on the Beelzemon deck. 100%. Just straight up. No questions asked. I feel like that's what this card was made to counter for. And you can use it in any red deck. It does. You do not have to have Gallimon. So I think this card could be used potentially in the near future, especially if there's a deck that just allows you to. Yeah, it's ridiculous. This card goes really well with Takato, by the way, because when attacking, trust the top card of your opponent's security stack. That's where the effect is that we just went over. Because it has Blitz with Takato on board. So this card's not that bad. Obviously, I just wish Gallimon did more. Gallimon was always the red color, like Jesmon even does more. So they print out like better red cards like Shoutmon. Shoutmon did more. Even in the set 5 format with DX. Did more than Gallimon from set 2 ever did. And then they did EX2. he saw like a little bit of limelight for like just a little bit. People were picking up the deck and playing him, and then kind of figuring out that he was just kind of slow. That's the issue with Big, by the way, that Gallimon has always had. I'm hoping that the purple deck, or if they do decide purple cards for Gallimon in the new stuff, or red and purple, hopefully, make them dual color, do something with, all would make this card better. Make all the Gallimon stuff better. Beelzemon Blast Mode. He is one of the most interesting cards I've ever seen printed. It's the first time you want to see your level 7 go to the discard pile. When this card is trashed for your deck, delete one of your opponent's level 4 lower Digimon. Not bad. And I don't have to sit there and spend 4 memory to do it. I can just simply attack with like a Ballmon now, and it can be trashed and kill something. When Digivolve, delete all your opponent's Digimon with the highest level. Pretty good. So there's like a Death Hexmon on board. This card can take it out. This card, I feel like this deck kind of got shafted because of D Reaper was kind of running around. Like, they really did not think this through when they made Beelzemon Blast Mode. I feel like they should have said delete to counter like the D Reaper deck for this card. They should be like, delete one of your opponent's level 4 or no level Digimon or something like that to make it just a little bit better, to make the Beelzemon deck just a little bit more relevant. And kind of give whatchamacallit, D Reaper a bit of a counter. So there is that. Okay, we have, I think this card will be used quite a bit still, even with the structure deck that comes out. I think that this card will still be used. Okay, we are down to our last few secret rares. Let's look at EX3, because that is our next set here in America, right? So we have 2 secret rares in this one. Japan, apparently, I'm gonna be playing this deck. I don't give a shit. Try not to swear in this entire video, but guess what? We're almost an hour in. I don't give a shit. I'm playing this deck. I've been wanting to see Imperial Black for a while, and we're finally getting him. Super freaking good card, in my opinion. When Digivolve, we're returning 1 Imperial Dragon mode from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to the bottom of its owner's deck. It doesn't activate security effects on cards it checks for the turn. This card, that effect alone is bonkers. The fact that you can actually get this guy up to a full 5 security stack check in 1 turn, and then completely wipe your opponent's entire security and they get nothing out of it, is insane. It is so absurd. And if you guys want a deck profile on it later, how I'm going to build it compared to how I've seen Japan build it, I will do a deck profile. I think this card is absolutely insane. Unleashing, you may play 1 Wormmon and 1 Vmon from your trash without paying its memory cost. Still really good, because it allows you to essentially rebuild if this guy just happens to die. By the way, the way I'm going to try and build this deck is using Lightning Joust. Lightning Joust says, if you are equal in security or have less security than your opponent, you give your Digimon plus 2k and an additional security check for the turn. You use Tai as well in this deck, and you have a Pyldramon underneath the new red-purple one. This guy, along with the Pyldramon and the Tai, that's already going to be 3 checks. You use 2 Lightning Jousts in the same turn. This thing's not dying to anything in security, and this thing is going to completely destroy your opponent's security. And then you just evolve with a Blitz Omni for game, because Blitz Omni is red. He's a level 6. Blitz Omni is 7. Blitz Omni is one of the best super rares. Anyway, sorry, we're talking about secret rares. I'm starting to go into a deck profile. I think this card's good. I'm going to make this deck work. So he's again, but he's his own deck. So after a certain period of time, he might not see any more play. Which is kind of sad, but we'll see what happens. It does say Digivolve 2 if the name contains Dragon Mode, which means he does not need to evolve on the specific color. So if it's a green-blue Dragon Mode, he can Digivolve on top of it. Just throwing that out there, guys. Don't forget, he's also in green. He's been in green and blue for quite some time now. So just throwing that out there. So now we're and again, this is why we're starting to see an uptrend of secret rares. And this is how secret rares are being printed from now on. I'm okay with this. Because at least the secret rares will be utilized. You know what I mean? The secret rares are being printed for like their own specific deck. Examon. When Digivolving, you may place one green or blue Digimon card with Dramon and its name from your hand. At the bottom of this Digimon's division cards. Then, when DNA Digivolving, you may play one green or blue Digimon card with Draymon and its name, and 12,000 DP or less from your hand, without playing its memory cards. That's so stupid. All turns when this Digimon is suspended, unsuspended, and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. This card's pretty good. Like, I would say this is giving my deck that I'm probably going to play the most when EX3 comes around. I enjoy the green and blue stuff. You'll be able to utilize Davis as well. And Davis is going to go up again because of this stupid deck. You could even utilize Ken and Davis, giving you extra memory and whatnot, as long as this guy is out. Or, yeah, card's good. He's his own deck. I would like to see more secret rares printed like this, but I would also like to see more utilization in secret rares that could potentially go into other decks later down the road. This is the problem I have with, again, going back to the core of the problem, secret rares being bad or not being utilized anymore or at all. So we're kind of like, I think we're about 50% still on utilization of secret rares. Let's just talk about future stuff. I can't say much. I can't say enough or a lot about these cards because we don't have them yet. This was surprising, by the way. This card's so freaking good. Anyway, we'll get into Arena here in a second. Digimon World 3. Gotta love it, right? Galacticmon. Digivolve 9 from Snatchmon. When Digivolve, you may place up to 4 Venmon from your trash at the bottom of this Digimon's Devolution cards. Then this Digimon has 8 more Venmon and its Devolution cards. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon. Pretty good. It's going to be its own deck. Again, we're kind of going back to the whole idea of secret rares still being kind of utilization for its own specific deck. This card will be used in its own deck. Don't know if it's going to top. Japan just got this set. We'll see what happens. All turns when Digimon would leave play, you may prevent it from leaving play by returning 4 Venmon. This Digimon's usually cards to the bottom of your deck. Start your main phase, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. I think this card's not that bad. It can be because it prevents its deletion. It prevents from leaving play. Oh yeah, you may prevent it from leaving play. Period. Leaving play. Deletion. This is the first card I believe that actually prevents it from being chaos degradation. It's the first card that actually stops chaos degradation. So I believe this card, I think this deck is going to see a lot of play when it finally hits English. I'm just throwing it out there. I want to play this deck. I love Digimon World 3, so I think this card is going to be, I think this deck is going to be used a lot, and I do believe that this deck is going to be kind of a terror of the format. And what's gross is you can still use Death Axe mod. Isn't that great? Man. First SR, by the way, first SR tamer, first secret rare tamer that we got. She is going to be her own specific deck. And this is why, and this kind of comes back to the Vidramon. On play, one of your Digimon with Vmon or Veedramon inflict in its name gains blocker and evade until the end of your opponent's turn. Now, this is where I'm talking about that Veedramon before. Yes, it's a 3 cost to evolve. But if you have a Tamer Blue Tamer in play, you can unsuspend it and still utilize its blocking and still make it a blocker and evolve on top of it, and it's going to be a blocker on your following turn. That is insane. If you think about it, if you can get it to go up, I'm assuming we're probably going to be using Hammer Sparks again soon with this card. Blue memory boosts, that kind of stuff. Blue gets more than enough memory to utilize these kind of effects. So I think, again, this card is its own specific deck, but it's a good card. When one of your Digimon with Veedramon in its name becomes suspended, by suspending this tamer, activate one of that Digimon's when Digivolving effects. Bananas. Super bananas. Your turn once per turn, one of your blue Digimon unsuspends, gain 1 memory. So that's the reason why I think that blue Veedramon is going to be utilized again in this specific deck, because this arena gives you that memory back. Blue allows you to get a lot of memory. This card's really dumb. I cannot stress how good this tamer is. Sorry, I'm going all goo goo gaga. I'm not fanboying over the fact that she's a wife. I don't give a shit. I'm married and I have 2 kids. If I need to be pleasured, I'll just go talk to my wife. Anyway, so with that being said, this card is just, it's its own deck. Again, we're kind of going back to the talk of secret rares. Sorry, I got a little off track there. Going back to the talk of secret rares, this card will be used in the Veedramon deck when it comes out, the All Force Veedramon deck, when set 11 hits. I 100% agree with it, that it will be used. I will be playing this deck, and this card is absurd. But she's not, by the way, guys, she's not the only one that the deck will run. We'll be using that V-Tai from like promo a while ago. Tap him, draw a card. Anyway, again, I think the trend with these secret rares, I think she could still be utilized some other way. When you're on your blue Digimon unsuspends, gain 1 memory. So you could potentially use her still in like an Imperial Digimon deck, right? Because he unsuspends a lot. You won't really get the whole other effects, so it wouldn't be that great. Although on play, one of your Digimon with Vmon or Veedramon in its name gains blocker and evade until the end of your opponent's turn. So what you could do essentially on play, give a Vmon blocker and evade, evolve into a next Vmon, and then evolve it with and keep evolving it until it hits like a certain stage. If you have that enough memory to utilize that. And it will still have blocker and evade because it was a Vmon and it got the effects at that point. So I still think you can use the on-play effect and the your turn effect in other decks that utilize Vmon or unsuspend a lot. So keep that in mind. I do believe this card does have utilization in other decks, but not at 4 like it's going to be in all Force decks when this card eventually comes out for us in North America, and as it's already come out in Japan. Yeah, but I think we're... So actually at the end right there, at BT11, I'm not really going to count it. So before BT11, I mean, with BT11, we're over 50%. Without BT11, we're still about 50%. About secret rares being currently utilized. I do believe we're on an uptrend. But, as I said before, there's still a problem with secret rares in the Digimon trading card game. Not being utilized enough. Not seeing its own... Either not seeing its own deck, or not seeing some sort of play value. I believe that the the secret rares that we talked about today, I mean all of them, the secret rares that did not see enough utilization, I believe at some point, if they go the Dragon Ball Super route, where they get, well, Dragon Ball Super does these reboots on some of these cards, right? And I believe Bandai could eventually go that route with Digimon and start rebooting some of these cards. That is my honest to God opinion. I think they might do that. But until we see that for sure, we won't know. But that wraps things up here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry it was like really long, but we definitely had to talk about... Again, I do believe that this is still a problem. But until we see more sets... We've already had 10 sets here in North America, not counting the 2 supplement sets, EX1 and EX2. But still, with those supplement sets, we've seen a lot of good secret rares, and we've seen a lot of bad ones. I don't want to say bad ones, just underutilized ones. Or going to be underutilized. King Shout, I'm looking at you. But until then, guys, hopefully we get some better secret rares in the future. And yeah, until then, talk about it in the comments below, please. I want to know what you guys think about this whole secret rare situation in this game. I love you all. Until then, bye.